All right. Hi, Connor, welcome. Hi, Jeremy, welcome.
Just didn't know what we're talking about. We really want to switch over.
I'm going to mute you all as you come in. Thank you so much for joining us. So I know Connor and Jeremy quite well. Jeremy and I are email friends. We've never met in person. And Connor and I go way back. So I'm really happy to see some fellow names on the Zoom so far. Hi, everyone. Welcome, Karen. I just saw Karen from radcraft/porchdrinking.com joined us too. Good crew today so far. You all know me, I'm Emily, and you get to listen to me blabber for just a minute longer. I'm going to give it for anyone else to join, and then we'll get started here. And I'm stoked to have the crew. Sorry, Phil, what did you say?
I said, hey, everybody.
So Phil and Alyssa are calling in from Walla Walla today, and Heather is calling in from Bellingham. I'm calling in from Durango. And I see some Colorado on here. I can't remember where Jeremy's located, but we're going continental at this point. We have a good representation of a couple of regions so far too. All right, team. Well, I'm going to get started and I'm going to keep an eye on the Zoom room if anyone else joins us. And I also have my cell phone out. So if anyone has questions, who has my cell phone or has technical difficulties, feel free to shoot me a text. So I'm so excited to introduce this crew and everyone who will be listening later on to the Mainstem Malt team. I discovered Mainstem Malt through Radcraft's work with the Craft Maltsters Guild and had just the honor of working with Alyssa and on a webinar that we did around craft maltster marketing last year. And that was really my introduction to this incredible team at Mainstem. I had followed them on social media prior to this engagement and just was truly enamored by what they were doing and couldn't have been more excited about them calling to engage our work at Radcraft. And yeah, you just cannot wait to introduce you all to this dream team. Mainstem was founded by Phil Newman and Alyssa Martinez Newman in Walla Walla, where they're calling from today, in 2014. They both have amazing environmental backgrounds, which they'll get into here in just a minute. And those really have informed and inspired their backgrounds to them to create this craft malting company for change. And I'll say that again, this is truly a craft malting company for change. Mainstem supports family farms, rural communities, landscape scale conservation work, and so many other things that we won't get into today, really pushing to be the beverage industry's model for ag, supply chain, sustainability, and innovation. These are some dedicated folks, and their malt is just the same. They've gotten environmental certification on 100% of their malt. They were the first craft maltster to achieve B Corp certification, and the first craft maltster to achieve Salmon Safe certification. And all of that is in a great effort to support deeper conservation in the final products that they support, i.e. the beer and spirits that we all love. You can find the breweries and distilleries working with their malt all across the Pacific Northwest and Alaska. So here with us today are the founders, Phil and Alyssa, and also Mainstem's COO, Heather, who I think these are the only faces you can see in the gallery. Yeah, the rest of you are audio only, totally cool, but that'll make things easy so you know who they are. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the Walla Walla team to introduce themselves. And then Heather, you're up after that.
Cool. Yeah, well, I'll kick it off. Thanks for a great intro, Emily. That couldn't have said it better myself. So I'll keep it short here. But
yeah, Alyssa and I started Mainstem back in 2015. We made the decision to embark on the journey in 2014, and yeah, this is my first time being a CEO, and so it's been quite the journey for me, and as a household, certainly trying to launch a business like this has been a pretty incredible experience. Anyways, I come from a water resource or natural resource conservation background, specifically water. And yeah, what's up?
Yes, thanks, Phil. Like Emily said, my name's Alyssa Martinez Newman, and I'm excited to be here today to chat with all y'all. So thanks for showing up. Yeah, Mainstem was really born out of this idea that we wanted to set up a company that did good and really tried to transform the food system. My background for the past decade was working for the nonprofit organic certifier, Oregon Tilth. And through my work, I got to meet a lot of great companies and brands doing neat things to try to transform food system. And I thought, hey, you know, here's a great opportunity for us to get involved and figure out a way to relocalize our supply chain that benefits both people and the planet. And so, yeah, we that was kind of the origin story, and we started working out the roadmap to make this dream happen.
Thank you so much, and welcome, Heather.
Thanks, Emily, and thanks, Phil and Alyssa, for employing me. My name is Heather Scharf-Gray. I am the COO at Mainstem Malt. I started a couple years ago with Mainstem, but my background is in agricultural supply chain. So I've been working with small and mid-scale farms, getting food from farms to consumers. So supply chains are kind of my whole jam. The thing that hooked me about Mainstem was the solid foundation in conservation work. My education, my degree is in marine biology. So I've joked in past iterations of jobs about how it was barely tied to marine biology and the degree made sense. And then getting to work for Mainstem and be connected to salmon and also be connected to agricultural supply chains, where the bulk of my work experiment is also accurate. Work experience is rooted, has been a really, really cool opportunity for me. And then being able to also pivot into other realms of the externalities that are not usually accounted for in supply chains. So equity in the supply chain, for example, getting to dig into those features as well, beyond just we buy grain and we sell malt. The being able to see the whole picture and include those features in the way that we do business is what I saw originally and has only grown over the time that I have been able to work for Mainstem. So I feel super grateful to be able to enact my personal worldview into and translate that into my job. So I'm Heather again.
Thanks, Heather. And I just want to say we also have three others, Paul, Aaron, and Eric, who are all our customer innovations team, and they're our sales reps basically. And yeah, we got the bright idea back in, I guess, 2019 to start, or late 2018 to start bringing on reps from that are not trained salespeople, but really understand deeply the technical requirements and innovation dynamics that can come out of craft malt. And they were excited to join the team and kind of be evangelists in their own non-salesy way. And that's been yeah, they've been on the team since 2019 and yeah, really helping us grow in an interesting direction. So yeah, they're busy much more than full-time working in the beverage industry right now, but just want to acknowledge that they're out there, and you can see them on the website.
Thanks for that, Phil. I just linked the Mainstem About page to you all in the chat, where I will continue to send you all sorts of links while we chat today. And I'm also here if you have any questions. So I just want to let everyone know who might have just joined us that we're here with the Mainstem Malt team. And if you have any questions for them, we are going to get to all of them today, especially because we have a smaller crew. We'll be able to get into the nitty gritty of your questions that I'd love to see in the chat. So feel free to, oh, I just got a great message that that Peter loves your website and the design is beautiful. And I love to see you all using that chat right away. So feel free to talk to me in there or just put your questions in as they come up and know that I'll get to them. And just to, I think, to segue into our main topic of the hour, Mainstem for All is a very exciting conversation for us at Radcraft because we believe in this campaign slogan, which is put your money where your malt is. This is a slogan that it's kind of cheesy and fun, but damn it, we believe it. And I'm so compelled to work with these folks and learn more about what they're doing. And I know you are too, because they are doing everything that I believe in this community. They're thinking about the world around them, both in an environmental capacity and just in this very human forward nature that made me want to be an investor in the campaign. And to date, I'm a very proud pledged investor in the Mainstem for All campaign. And this team just produced an incredible video about their equity crowdfunding campaign that you've all been hearing about from me via email. And I think that the best way to really show you what they're up to is to show you this video to get started today. So I'm going to screen share, and once it starts, I'd love a thumbs up from folks just to make sure you can see it. Do y'all see my screen? Wonderful, thank you. And I'm going to hit play so you can see what they're up to.
So back in 2014, Alyssa and I woke up to this awkward reality that most craft brewers and distillers were using the same malt. It was all from a small handful of global suppliers. We were shocked that in a world increasingly interested in, quote, knowing your farmer, that there was really no way to find out who grew the barley, that made the malt, that was in fact the soul of the beverages we loved. We also knew that if consumers weren't paying attention to the malt supply, that there was little incentive for social and environmental progress. And indeed, that ball was being dropped. So there it was, it still is, this bright beaming opportunity for a company to help solve the malt supply chain transparency problem, all while creating real opportunities for consumers to help change the way things are done in our industry. The original Mainstem vision was that craft beverage fans could become the next big funders for these targeted agricultural conservation projects on family farms. On one end, we knew we needed to pay farmers more than the commodity market in order to support a meaningful shift in their practices. And to support those premiums, we need to build out a strong set of value propositions for brewers and distillers and an ingredients brand they could show off to their own fans. Building Mainstem hasn't been easy, but I'm proud to say it's working. A small, high-energy team, partnerships with nonprofits like Salmon Safe, and some fiercely loyal customers, we're already supporting a shift to more sustainable management practices on over 30,000 acres of farmland. We've also taken our early thinking on market-based conservation work and applied it to a much broader framework for social and environmental impact. We're the world's first maltster to earn B Corp certification, for example, which means we're committed to managing the company by triple bottom line principles: people, planet, and profit. If folks support our mission and want us to keep making progress, they can trust that there's a solid framework holding us accountable. I look at craft beer and single malt whiskey as these beautiful examples of what's possible. What's possible when we uncover agricultural supply chains and just start asking more of them. When beverages become a transparent expression of time, place, people, culture, and all the pathways that brought them into our lives. When the decision to imbibe becomes a decision to support the kind of positive change that we all want to see in the world. Over the past 5 years, we've taken Mainstem from an outsized vision to a compelling reality. We've worked with some of the biggest names in craft beer and spirits across the American West, and a growing number of them are committing to multi-year supply agreements as a way to underwrite Mainstem's future. I feel confident in saying that the network we've been able to form behind the Mainstem mission is only starting to show its true potential. Our supply chains extend from our Walla Walla home base on the Washington-Oregon border, through Idaho to the Rockies of Montana, and all the way up to the Alaskan interior. We've sold malt coast to coast, and folks are rooting for us internationally. Now, in an unprecedented move for Malt Supply Company, we're inviting hundreds, if not thousands of folks to join our team as equity investors, to grow with us as shareholders and stakeholders through Mainstem's most exciting chapter yet. This is Mainstem for all.
Snaps and cheers and claps. I love that video. And I know Phil has had to say what his script for that video so many times leading up to the production of it that I decided to just save that for him today one last time and show you the video instead. I can't imagine the kind of work that went into that production. And when I think about what this team does all day long, they are a very lean and impactful team, like they say in the video. And I just, yeah, props on a great production there, friends. And I think it's worth noting that in this new vision for what a malt company could be, the 1,000 plus investors that Mainstem is inviting into their community and their decision-making process about how things are done is a big change. And I think one of my biggest questions that, or I should say one of my biggest questions when I came into the campaign, especially as an investor, was, well, where does this money go? And what does the future look like? And so I think that's a great place to start today. I'll lob it to whoever from the Mainstem team wants to start. And I'd love to hear specifically what an investment in Mainstem is going to do in the next couple of years and then the long-term future as well.
Yeah, I'll get us started with this. Thanks, Emily, and appreciate you sharing the video. I mean, for us, it was a little choppy, but you can get it should be in high definition, available on the Wefunder campaign page, and we'll have it up on Vimeo or YouTube or something here shortly. But yeah, what are we gonna do? What's this campaign gonna allow us to do? Really, I think about it as, I mean, we have the social dynamic of getting all these people on board as owners in the company who are like seeing the nitty-gritty details, like behind the scenes inside the company, and then forming their own perspectives about the company and providing feedback. This feedback loop that we haven't been able to get before between like the world and Mainstem, and we think that's going to be a really important tool to help us grow in like a financially significant way, but also a like ethical way. So a way that's sensitive to yeah, all these complex this complex network of stakeholders that really is a part of the company, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. So there's that whole dynamic. Then there's the cash. We're trying to raise a substantial chunk of change, $1 million out of this campaign here. And again, you can go to the Wefunder campaign for detailed page for detailed information on that. But really, right now we've always been a supply chain manager, so a little bit of an odd duck as a craft maltster in that we don't do our own malting. We malt in partnership with other craft malt houses, Link Malt, Skagit Valley Malting, and now a Montana Craft Malt. And that last and newest partnership with Montana Craft Malt has really dropped some of the most significant growth barriers for our company in this business model, which has been price point. We've always been selling a super premium product. So we just, this is a new partnership as of this year, or late last year, December. So fresh, we've just churned out the first malt through this partnership, launching our flagship products, our first ever flagship products. So part of the money is to really give us the best chance of success at being able to fund those supply chains and sell the malt that gets produced by it. So a lot of growth potential just from adding some working capital to that. And then, we don't always want to be outsourcing malt production to our malting partners. We see a real strong strategic purpose to have some of our own malt production that we're doing in-house. And so we see the need to do specifically specialty and innovation malting of our own, so that we can really be, we can feel confident in our customers, and consumers can feel confident that we are in fact leading artisans in the industry. So we want to have some small scale malting capacity, smoking, roasting, also some pilot brewing and distilling capacities, and a place where people can come and enjoy products made with our malt. And so that's something that we want to do with this money. And then we also have some, understanding that we live in a digital world. We have some pretty big aspirations on allowing an unprecedented degree of interaction between consumers and the malt supply. And we think that if we can do that, we also, and then also help artisans find premium markets, like loving homes with consumers who really want to buy products made with our malt and other really interesting, high integrity, premium raw materials, ingredients, then we think there's a lot of value in building out some software that allows for these connections to take place, and a digital community to grow up around it, a marketplace, if you will. So those are really the pillars of how we want to use this money, and probably won't be the last time we raise money from the crowd as well. So hopefully we can turn this into enough growth that justifies additional crowdfunding and growing the ownership community.
Thanks, Phil. So I invested $1,000 in this campaign, and I've seen other investors invest as little as 100. And that's caused me to really have a sparked interest in exactly what a micro investment is. I think it's a term that's thrown around a little bit, and you can find varying definitions thereof. But specifically to Mainstem for malt, I'd love to hear from this team why microinvestment and just crowdfunding in general is an important part of the social change that you're hoping to impact.
I'll take
you want to start that, Heather? Yeah, I was going to pick on you, so I'm glad that.
Rude.
Glad we went there. Go for it.
Well, I wanted to, I'm going to sort of quote Phil, but he said something meaningful a few weeks ago that was notable to me, and it may have been in an email or an Instagram post, but it was the notion that conventional business wisdom suggests that you should have the smallest number of investors. So there's the fewest number of people who have an opinion that you have to consider. And this is the exact opposite of that. And I think that it's so powerful that we're aiming for the largest number of people with the greatest diversity, maybe not the largest number, that'd be crazy, but a significant number of people with diverse opinions, with the notion that with all of those minds interested and invested in our success, that we will be able to really move forward in an incredibly conscientious way. Good data is made up of lots and lots of people. Well, good data is made up of lots and lots of data points, and you take averages and you can see the way that trends go through time. And I think that it's kind of a similar notion here, that the more people that we have engaged and involved in the process, the more the company can shift with the changing times and the changing cultural impressions. So I think that that's for me a huge reason that I'm invested in acquiring a diverse and large set of investors.
Thanks, Heather. Anything to add to that from Walla Walla? I'm just going to start naming your places.
The Walla Walla office, yeah.
Yeah, headquarters.
The office.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, there's just adding kind of the there's how we benefit, right, as a company, but there's also how our investors benefit, and so like being able to, I mean, typically for a company like ours, a startup company that's raising money, you set like the minimum investment is one of the key things you have to consider, and it's typically not less than $10,000, and it's typically more like 25 or 50. So obviously, well, and additionally, it's limited to accredited investors only in most cases. So that means you just like can't invest if you're like we couldn't invest in our own company, and if we weren't involved in it, if we weren't owners. So yeah, that has never sat well with me or Alyssa, and but it's something like we've raised money in the past, and we've kind of been cautioned by like attorneys to like not do this kind of thing. But anyways, and now it's a lot more tried and true to raise money from non-accredited investors, from just everyday people, and there are a lot of like, because we have this belief that diversity and more owners is a good thing. Like, yeah, being able to offer folks the ability to put in $100 and have a potential to grow that $100 into a larger chunk of money is pretty cool. And yeah, the idea of micro investments is like, wouldn't that be neat if someone, instead of investing, like having to pump all their money into like someone who doesn't have a huge amount of capital, wouldn't it be great if instead of pumping their money into Wall Street, they could take $1,000 a year and invest in 10 companies that they think are the future they want to see. So
Thank you. I'm loving the comments that I'm getting from you all directly, and I want to share that someone said, I love this strategy. Having a significant amount of folks invested helps avoid groupthink, which often leads to stagnation. And I love that. I couldn't have said it better, Peter. And Connor asked a great question, which is just very technically, take me through the process of becoming an investor.
yeah, so basically very simply, Wefunder is a platform that's authorized by the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, to basically conduct our investment offering and like kind of vet us, make sure we are representing ourselves accurately and everything, and like getting facts out to potential investors. And then they also manage like the subscription side. So like when you give when you commit your money, whatever amount of money it is, that they're the ones that handle the making sure you have stock, the ownership piece. So they make it very easy. It's probably, you have to have a Wefunder, you have to have a Wefunder account and your bank linked to it or some form of payment. And yeah, I mean, really it comes down to whatever you want to pledge. Right now we're in this testing the waters phase. So we have documentation that still needs to be submitted to the SEC. Should be, any day now. So right now we're taking pledges, but it should be, once that form is submitted, then it's like, yeah, you hit invest, select the amount you want to invest, hit invest, and then there will be a agreement, our subscription agreement for you to sign ultimately. Once that's signed, then yeah, we're closing on a rolling basis. So basically, periodically, everyone who's invested will that money will be transferred to Mainstem in exchange for the stock. And then just stepping back, this is made possible because of the Jobs Act, JOBS, Jumpstart Our Business Startups, pretty sure. And that was, yeah, in 2017, basically, it was legislation that passed to allow regulation crowdfunding is like the technical term for it, to allow this kind of thing to occur. And they said, basically, the SEC said, they formed a bunch of initial rules and they said, hey, non-accredited investors can invest in deals like this as long as an approved platform online is conducting the offering, and they've gone through this list of steps. And so it was kind of launched in a imperfect fashion back then, and then it's gone through I think it's gone through 2 revisions, maybe only 1, but the latest revision was in March and solved a bunch of problems that were like lingering problems with regulation crowdfunding. And yeah, that's what makes it all possible.
Thank you. I'll add to that very simply from an investor's perspective that the whole process took me about 15 minutes. And then I'm sure this team is probably laughing because internally it took me like a month because I wanted to do my homework. But truly, it's something that I think a lot of folks have some shyness about or caution about when they're investing, because micro investment and the ease of the Wefunder platform is nearly too good to be true. So I'll just put in there that it took me about 15 minutes, and now I am subscribed to an awesome email newsletter from Wefunder that educates me about my investment and the other possibilities that I have through their platform. Wefunder has a wonderful investor toolkit that I have dug into, and I feel like I really understand a lot better not only how the process works, but what my role in that could be. And I feel really empowered by the whole situation. And it's that easy. Yeah. So I have another question for this team. I don't see any other questions in the chat, so feel free to keep adding them, everyone. And I will do a quick run through after I ask this question just to make sure. I'm curious about the long-term social change that Mainstem for All is intended to transpire. We talk a lot about why this is Mainstem's future and not necessarily Mainstem's present, because it's without, or I should say it's not without these investors that Mainstem can do what they really want to do. So they're in this transitional period of asking for folks to join them so that together they can make a big change. And I'd love to know what the vision is for that change. Can I pick on you first, Alyssa?
Sure. Yeah, for me, it's, vision for change. It has to do a lot with supply chain. And so one thing that is so rewarding for me is when I'm able to go back to these farmers that are stuck in the commodity malt supply world, where they grow their grain, it gets put on a train, it gets shipped to Portland and then shipped to Asia, and they never see an end product. And so for me to be able to come back and bring them a beer that was brewed or made with the grain that they grew is really rewarding. And so for everyone, it just gives a great sense of purpose. And so I want to see more of that change. But in terms of the vision I see for Mainstem going forward is I'm super passionate about bringing diverse perspective and providing space for voices to show up in a traditionally male industry. And that includes women, that includes women of all ages, of ethnicities, et cetera, that, hey, you can be a part of this industry and you can be a part of this change.
Thank you. Heather, what do you have to add to the change vision?
Yeah, similar. I always think about supply chains and when you start to uncover that malt is made from grain that was malted at a facility, that was trucked by a trucker, that was cleaned by a cleaner, that was trucked, prior it was trucked by another trucker. Before that, it was at a storage or like in a grain silo. Before that, it was on a farm. Before that, it was a seed that was grown by a farmer. And before that, it was a seed that was bred by a breeder. And so when you take a single product and you like expand it out, you telescope its story, there's so many different nodes of that story that have actors, and there's so much potential for greater influence by people who are not traditionally part of the supply chain to be part of that story from start to finish. So there are plant breeders who are at university institutions, and who is most represented in that field. Well, you'll find that again, it's dominantly white men. And so how do we bring up people who are interested in plant science and celebrate them? I think about, I'll just like name drop Bridget Mainz, who is a gal who works, or who is a PhD at Oregon State University. How do we get more people, more women and more people of color into these fields that are dominated in a particular by a particular subset of our population? And that's just the very start. And then you like start to think about who are the cleaners, who occupies the jobs that are specific and ideally respected and paid appropriately at each level. There's like so much opportunity to shift the supply chain in those ways. And then all the way at the other end, there's the brewers and distillers, and how do we create opportunities and feed people through the system so that brewers and distillers both know that there's another kind of product, that there's another kind of product like Mainstem malts malt that they can be using, and also that people have been funneled into really cool jobs that are high visibility and also high impact. So for me, the vision is endless, and I could constrain my vision, but I don't want to.
Awesome. Yeah, I think there's the tendency, like when like that energy is really important, because there's a tendency when you have a hugely complex system like that, like the one we're dealing in, when you have something like diversity, equity, and inclusion, like an imperative to become more diverse, equitable, and inclusive across all the different areas we work. It's like, well, that's not going to happen in any hurry. It's going to take a bunch of work. Like it, it could be crippling to some people, like with I guess like a more limited perspective on what's possible. But we're not saying we're going to solve everything. What we are saying is that we want to take a full systems view as we chip away at solving these problems, and what part of it we can contribute solutions to, great, but we also want to be inspirational to others who are running their own seed cleaning business, or running their own craft brewery, or another craft maltster, or the greater commodity malt supply. So we can have influence outside of the areas we work immediately.
Through this experience too, we've had tremendous support from all our relationships, but it has allowed us to form relationships with folks with similar values that sort of share this vision for change. And for me, that is kind of what keeps me going, is having this collective of people that are not okay with status quo and trying to do better. So I'm grateful for them.
And that support
No,
comes
yeah.
from some interesting places too, right? Like you may like paint these stereotypes about like, the conservative white male farmer or, the left-leaning urban dwelling craft beverage connoisseur. But it's never that black and white, and you can find so much common ground when you're talking about things that like anyone can get. Like everyone is attracted to agriculture, I think, in some fundamental way. Everyone is a lot of people are attracted to craft beverages, and most people like food and beverage is something that everyone, it's a common ground for everybody. So yeah.
And two, there's a shift to focus on environmental resources as well. And so here in the Pacific Northwest, it's been great to see both sides of the political spectrum caring about river and water health and keystone species like salmon. And so I think everyone realizes we can do a lot more once we collaborate together versus pushing separate agendas.
Totally. The diversity of opinion also comes from like not just the liberal mindset, but like the full complement. And that's one of the coolest parts of the business, is that we do function inside this like total 180 spectrum in many ways. I also don't want to buy into the binary exactly, but there's like a full view, and you have to look in all the directions.
As part of your job description, right, Heather?
Yeah, the crunchy something or other, and I did.
Working with agricultural stakeholders from crunchy to conservative. Yeah.
That was literally in the job description that I applied for. I was like, I can basically do that. Yeah, that defines me.
You said one may be more challenging. One side may be more challenging than the other for you, but you think you could handle it.
Yeah.
Oh man, y'all keep such a good sense of humor, and I think we have all, somehow affiliated beverage and ag people in the room today, and so I think you're really preaching to the choir here. I can tell from all of your DMs that you're really picking up what this team is putting down. I think there's something that's truly inherent about agriculture for all of us, and beer is one of those. Beer and spirits bring us together. But what I think Mainstem is speaking to today is there's a much more ingrained agricultural element that's bringing us all together, and to think about the big picture is super inspiring to me. I have a question from the chat, and I love it. It says, it sounds like Mainstem is very intentional when choosing partnerships on the front end of the supply chain. Is there a similar level of intentionality when choosing brewery and distillery partners?
That's a really good question. So far, I think, well, there's a couple ways to approach this. We in general we've been intentional about who we work with, but not like restrictive, or like we don't want to have too strong preconceived notions about who people are before we start working with them. And for the most part, I think that's gone really well. From a customer perspective, I think in large part it's been self-selecting who wants to work with us. So we really haven't had to make too difficult decisions. Probably the most challenging is the most challenging dynamic from a raw materials, I guess a progressive raw materials provider would be the elephant in the room that's been working with large multinationally owned breweries and distilleries. For us, our number one customer is a multinational owned distillery. It's been something that, we've had to think about a lot. Like, what does that mean? What kind, what does that mean for us? Is this, something that is mission aligned, and really, we're out to, and the answer is definitely yes, it is mission aligned. We're looking to create bridges, and ultimately the ability to, from our own vendors to our customers. Like, we want to have a range of different kinds of segments in that can inspire one another. So there's certainly things that Westland Distillery, being a multinationally owned distillery, can do that help us grow as a company, that other brewers and distillers just weren't prepared to do when we needed it the most. So we just straight up wouldn't have been in business. But we know really there's a lot of other breweries and distilleries that need help and a leg up and differentiation. So there's the flip side of that. That's like, okay, well, we're off and running. What do we do to help? What do we do to help the small independent craft brewers and distillers get a leg up? So
I have a little bit of a follow-up question to that, and thank you. I'm overjoyed to see so many of your existing partners pledging investments in Mainstem for All. And so I was hoping, both from the brewer and distiller side and also the grower side, if y'all could give a couple of examples of some of the folks who have invested and maybe what that partnership looks like anecdotally, beyond the regular customer maltster experience.
I'd like to do a little bit of directing here, or suggesting. I think Alyssa can speak really well to Amalga Distillery, and Heather can certainly, so on the customer side, and then Heather, we have like multiple generations of the Schultes family in Colton, a new grower of ours that has pledged decent, pretty substantial investment.
Perfect. You read my mind on Amalga. So Alyssa, do you want to talk about this amazing distillery out in Alaska that you work with?
Sure. Amalga Distillery is based out of Juneau, Alaska. And that relationship started one day when Phil saw a call out from Brandon Howard's Instagram account asking for tips on how to malt barley. And so the conversation grew, and lo and behold, we saw ourselves traveling up to Alaska to see the feasibility of creating an Alaska craft malt supply chain. And so we met with a variety of stakeholders, everyone from researchers to extension agents to brewery and distillery owners, and Brandon and more were one of them. And they're an amazing couple trying to do big things. They're super passionate about transforming the distilling industry in terms of really supporting local ingredients that go above and beyond supporting environmental initiatives, especially when it comes to salmon, because it's such a big deal in Alaska. And they have been tremendous supporters through our journey so far. And, our relationship goes beyond just purchase order. We talk about innovation. What do they want to see? What are they hoping to incorporate into their product next year? And it's just been amazing to have somebody to soundboard ideas off of, but also share in that collective vision.
Yeah, and I'll speak to the Schulteses. Let's see, I'd have to do some brain digging. I think they reached out to us by way of Instagram sometime last year to describe their practices and their relationship with the folks who mill their grain, and their interest in us as a company and the alignment of our values. And so we we really appreciate connections like that. So we jumped right on it and got in touch with them. And I spent I spent an afternoon interviewing Kyle, who is the current generation of farmer, on their practices and where they grow and why they're interested in us and what kinds of things they can grow for us. And we just got the opportunity this spring to buy our first load of their beautiful white wheat, and we just malted it into a pail in March or April. So that's a really cool one, that they see not only that we are a partner that will be able to buy their grain, but they believe so strongly or appear to believe so strongly in the vision of where we're going with this, that they would also invest. And then the generation, I believe, above Kyle also invested. And that feels really rewarding to me, that the relationships that we've built with our growers are more than just like transactional, but also like they see the future and they see the vision that we're going for and are up for buying in. And that's like very heartening and satisfying to me and propels me to do my job. So those are the kinds of relationships that I'm stoked to nurture. And then I also wanted to bring up a brewery in Seattle that has been kind of cool to work with, that we just like had some conversation back and forth. It was clear that they were interested in terroir. And so I looped them into this conversation with a PhD student to talk about terroir and talk about markers on grain. And that's just been like this really cool thing. And then we got some malt contracted with them, and just like so satisfying that. And then he invested also. And so that was a really satisfying, another satisfying relationship, that he saw the vision all the way from the breeder to the malt that would land in his facility. And that's like one of another kind of favorite relationship building moments that I like to have, is like, can I get you as excited about this as I am? And he already was. And so I got to cash in on it. I don't really mean cash in, but I got to like build that relationship, and that's really neat to me.
And then this is kind of back full circle to like the increased perspectives or the benefits of diverse perspectives. Like Chris, that individual, he was like, I'm happy to support you guys. It's a great opportunity. I really believe in what you're doing. We have to talk about, we'll have to address at some point the salmon killing compounds in the tires in the trucks, that like there was a story that broke not too long ago, a few months back, about a compound in tires that are in all of our tires that get into streams and are very damaging to fisheries anyway. So here's somebody that's on the brewing side that's like wanting us ultimately to figure out how to get new truck tires on our partners' trucks. So it's like, all right, the pressure's on. Like, this is great. Like, it's nice to like not be the only people pushing on that, but to have like our stakeholders, putting in requests along the way.
Lofty requests that you have tons.
Yeah, that's fine. It'll happen.
Happy to accommodate sometime in the future.
Heather's on it.
Great. Well, thank you all so much. It's been wonderful having this conversation with you all, and it went by really quickly. I'll close things down by telling everyone, thank you so much for joining us, all of those who are here, and the many of you who I am sending this to thereafter. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And if you have more questions about the Mainstem team, if you'd like to connect with them, if you even just have commentary that you'd like to share, you all know where to find me. I also recommend that you go to mainstemmalt.com if you haven't already, from my many links in the chat, and check them out, see what they're doing on their website, and also follow them on social media at Mainstem Malt. My final closing comment is a little poll I'm going to take from a DM, and I think it's quite relevant to everything that we've been discussing today. And it's that, Heather, your knife collection is sick, and we could all make so much yummy food with those bad boys. So thank you so much for joining us from your homes in Washington and all of your spaces, wherever else you're coming from today. And feel free to be in touch if you want to connect with Mainstem Malt in the future.
Yeah, it's all Bill, Alyssa, and Heather at mainstemmalt.com if you want to get in touch directly. You're more than welcome to. Thanks so much, Emily, for conducting this, and I look forward to getting this out to more folks in recorded format.
Likewise,
Bill.
thanks, Emily. Thanks everyone for being here.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Cheers, people, and happy American Craft Beer Week to you all.
Yeah, enjoy. Salute.